I'm gonna turn down the light just a little bit. I'll give you a second to get on. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Lavonne. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am live for part two. This totally turned into a part two. It was not intending to be a part two, but here we are. And so in part one of May's Coffee and Questions, I just had my sister on who is currently pregnant. She's past her due date. And we answered a bunch of your questions you had from her. We talked about the things that she is doing to try to get labor going / get her cervix ready, what she's feeling, what contractions have felt like. I don't know what else. There was a lot of things, but it was lots of different teaching moments using her pregnancy and the things that we've been doing together. Part one, thank you so much for coming back. I hope this is like a little uplifting moment for your Sunday afternoon. And I am here today, so again, for those of you who have never been to a Coffee and Questions, this is my chance to connect with you guys on lives, which I actually am really liking these being live. You can let me know if you like them being live versus pre-recorded, but I answer your questions from YouTube comments and then from Instagram. I put out a poll over there, so if you don't follow me on Instagram, go over, find me at Bundle Birth. If you don't subscribe, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a future video and future lives and other things that are coming in the near future, okay? I'm loving the lives too, Elysia. I hope I'm saying your name right, okay? So I'm gonna get to your questions here. I honestly have been so impressed. You guys are the sweetest people on YouTube. Your comments, I was going through today and trying to find questions and was just like, you guys are so nice and the best, and I love you so much. So I appreciate all of your comments and your stories and following up about your births, etc. And so I'm gonna go, I only have like 5 from YouTube and then I have a million from Instagram. So I'm gonna fly. A lot of these, I tried to choose the ones that I could answer quickly. And then the other thing is that for those of you who have questions, whether it be on Instagram or YouTube, I want to remind you that your doctor is an amazing resource to you. And I hope you feel comfortable asking your doctor questions or your midwife questions. If you don't feel comfortable, I encourage you to push through and ask them your questions. Start a note in your phone and put down when things come up or when you're like, ooh, I want to ask Sarah this one. Add it to your doctor list too, because they're going to be the one that knows you the best and that can respond to your specific pregnancy and their preferences, and they know what's up with your hospital, etc. So your doctor's a resource to you. They are there to answer your questions. Now, I will say that like at times, not everybody is the best at giving education that you can understand. I've been in the room for lots of times where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but I know it makes sense because I know what they're talking about. So that's where I am so grateful that you guys are here, that you look to me as a resource. I so appreciate that. I don't take that lightly. And I thank you for being here live. And if you're watching this after it's been recorded, I thank you for that as well. So let's get going. I'm gonna go to YouTube. So this comes from the last Coffee and Questions that I did from April 2020, and the question comes from Melissa Reynolds. It's a little bit long. I'm gonna try to answer it as quickly as possible. She says, hey Sarah, wondering if you can answer this question. I was induced at 41 weeks with Cervidil, so we talked about induction. After an hour of it being placed, I had horrible back pain that lasted up until giving birth and never let up, which ended up in a C-section due to late decelerations in the epidural. Have you seen births where Cervidil caused intense back pain? I'm not sure if Cervidil is what caused the pain. The timing of the pain started made me think it was the medication, or if it was just back labor. I never got a straight answer from my doctors, okay? The reason why you didn't get a straight answer is because there probably isn't totally a 100% answer. I can hypothesize here. So Cervidil is a cervical ripening agent. It is a very mild medication in general for all the things that they can do to help induce you. I think timing wise, probably the medication started kicking in, but back pain in labor is not uncommon. And back pain in labor a lot of times actually has to do with the fact that your hormones are changing, you're having contractions, baby is coming down, and in your pelvis, I need my pelvis. Hannah, can you grab my pelvis off the table in my room? The hard one. It's behind my mirror. I'm gonna have her get my pelvis. I always need my pelvis. So in your pelvis, you have all these bones, but connected to the bones are ligaments. There's muscle in there. There's fascia in there. There's baby coming down and pressing on all of those structures. And all of that movement, especially if things are really tight back there, can cause back pain. The other one is position of the baby. And so if the baby was OP, occiput posterior, that can push on that sacrum, on your back, and cause that back pain. So I would say thank you to my assistant. Here comes my handy dandy pelvis, which by the way, I did bring with me to Minnesota. Remember these bones, right? So this is tailbone, this is sacrum. So like your butt cheeks are gonna be here-ish on either side, butt crack here, lower back here. That there's movement that happens when the baby's coming down. I feel like it might be too bright. Hold on, let me turn down this thing. I'm shiny. Okay, let's go here. No light. So with the back pain, I have to slouch to be seen. This is gonna move back and forth. As the baby's coming down, it's gonna push the back this way. And on here, there's ligaments and muscles and pelvic floor and all of that are being pulled as baby comes through and can cause a lot of discomfort in your back. So I don't know what's happening with the light here, but we'll deal with it. So to me, it probably was a combination of things. I think coincidentally, the Cervidil may have influenced that, but I wouldn't blame the Cervidil entirely on that. And for those of you that do have back pain in labor, movement, heat, massage, trying to get the baby rotated through movement and stuff like that is gonna be really, really helpful for you, okay? So that's what I got on that one. This comes from Laboring at Home, How to Avoid Going Too Early. Millie Kosare says, what happens if you're GBS positive? Are you able to still labor at home? I've gotten this question a bunch of times. I know I've answered it in a previous Coffee and Questions. I can't tell you which one, so that's why I'm gonna answer it again. I've read that you need 2 doses of antibiotics for you to be in the safe zone first time mom. Okay, so if you are GBS positive, if you watch my laboring at home video, we wanna labor at home until you're about 6 centimeters, which is considered active labor. I talk about that in my childbirth classes. And so if you're GBS positive, first of all, we're gonna default to your doctor. Ask your doctor when you need to go to the hospital. For you first-time mamas, active labor takes about 4 to 8 hours to get from 6 to 8 centimeters. 8 to 10 takes 2 to 4 hours. You need 4-hour window in the hospital before you are covered with your GBS. Long story short, you have plenty of time. So to me, for first-time moms, this criteria for laboring at home is the same whether you're GBS positive or negative. Now, if your water breaks, if you're feeling rectal pressure, if things are intensifying significantly, like super fast, then go, you know? And I would say with GBS, it's a consideration. It's not something to ignore. You're not like waiting till you're pushing to get in the car, right? But you wanna wait until you get to that active labor place, which you truly learned in my childbirth class, my labor prep class, which by the way, I have a promo code live, Safer at Home 19, 20% off all my classes till the end of the day. I wanna make sure and tell you that. It'll be in the description box down below. So for those of you that see this today, you're in luck. Friends, you need 4 hours in the hospital for your 2 doses of antibiotics and you should still be good. Second time, third time moms, when things start intensifying, go. Because you do have time to get those 2 doses in. Now, if you don't get those 2 doses of antibiotics, then there's nothing we would have done about that. You could have taken an hour or you could have taken 10 hours and you would have had plenty of time for your antibiotics. And so if you don't get treated for your antibiotics, you deliver really fast, which is great in theory. They will watch your baby, they'll take vital signs on your baby, they may do testing on your baby and just wait and see. And if your baby did get GBS infected, they would treat the baby. So that is the risk of waiting, but a lot of this is very flex and flowy where it's like, you don't know until you try, and the best thing you can do is show up still in active labor. Okay? I hope that helps. All right, so Ray Nairi says, please do a video on virtual support. I'd love to know how that's working, and do you have any recommendations on where to find a virtual doula? So if you watch any of my videos, you will hear that doulas are a huge recommendation of me. That's basically what I do as a birth coach. I'm also a nurse, so you get that added bonus. So quick answer to this one, I wanted to say that if you are looking for a doula, if you are feeling like you need extra support, and this comes from the Laboring at Home one, which somebody could help you virtually labor at home. One, I do that. I have a few open spots, barely though, I'm not gonna lie. I am almost booked out through August. I may have openings past August. So, but otherwise, look up doulas in your community and ask them if they're doing virtual support. A lot of people might have that on their website, but I would call them and be like, hey, I'm interested. Are you offering virtual support? What does that look like to you? How do you go about it? What's your whole system? I would just go for the doula rather than looking up virtual doula. I don't know that everybody's updated, but they may still be providing virtual doula services, even though it doesn't say it online. Okay, so just look up a doula and do your research there, and you can interview them online, etc. Okay, so this question comes from my last video, which was my labor aid recipe, and I talked about hydration in labor and all of that. Natalie Lamothe says, could you freeze the concentrate? This is genius. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but 100% you guys could freeze the concentrate so that it's ready. Defrost it when you're in early labor, add your waters to it, and you have your fresh labor aid. Genius. Love it. I don't actually know what the homeopathy does though when it's frozen, so you might want to wait on the homeopathy, the Rescue Remedy stress drops that go in it. Maybe add that in the water just in case, because it may change like the availability of the particles. It's not actually a thing. Well, just make it fresh. So add it later. But yes, I love that. I think that's a great idea. All right, this comes from my peanut ball video. Miss Swanky10 says, hey Sarah, I'm 32 weeks. Should I start using a regular birth ball now and a peanut ball while I'm at home once I start getting contractions? Ding, ding, ding. That's exactly what I would recommend. So if you guys are wondering what to do with your balls, how to use your balls, your peanut ball, your birth ball, which is just an exercise ball, I do recommend the exercise ball for at home in early labor, pre-labor, keeping everything fluid. Motion is lotion. Okay, so we wanna keep you upright and moving. The peanut ball is gonna be more for labor for restful positions, and then especially for those of you who plan on an epidural. Because once you get your epidural, the regular round exercise ball and you being upright on your feet, unless you have a walking epidural, is no longer an option. Okay, so 100% yes, that's how I would recommend using them. All right, guys, so we're gonna go over to Instagram and we are gonna find your questions there. I said on the previous one that I had over 400 questions this time, guys. So if you get your question answered, I'm so excited for you. But if you didn't get your question answered, I do one-on-one calls with people. We can set that up and then ask your doctor, right? And so / keep asking. I hope you have time. If not, then just keep asking and maybe your question will be on here. So, Jess Lasky from Instagram says, what's the best way to prep your body for getting pregnant? Now, I'm going to talk about this, and let me find the next one. I can see it in my head. Nicole Sikorsky says, is it a good idea to try to conceive now during the pandemic? Okay, so let's talk to you mamas who are maybe considering getting pregnant right now, especially with the pandemic going on, and then how to get your body ready for getting pregnant. So first of all, I do have a video on this. So the video is trying to conceive something. You can find it there. It says something about conceiving, and I'm in like a modern fertility shirt because I did the whole modern fertility testing to test my hormones. If you are thinking about trying to conceive, a couple of things you need to note. One is how old you are, what your plans are for how many babies you want, if you're ready to have kids now, if you're responding out of fear, right? Because what I'm hearing mostly from fertility experts is that if you are older than 30 and you're thinking you want 4 kids or more, especially if you're around the 35-year mark, that the risk benefit of waiting with the pandemic versus trying to get pregnant now, knowing that your fertility goes down as you age, knowing that your egg quality goes down as you age, that it probably is better for you to try now to conceive. And then that's where the multiple kids comes in. If you want 4 babies and you're 34, like, you need to start. Like, you're gonna run out of time, you know, and I hate to say that because I'm 32 and I don't have kids yet. Somebody asked me that question as well, and I would love to have babies, so I am considering freezing my eggs. More to come on that. I may actually document it if I do it, but that's where, like, you have to weigh what your future plans are for your pregnancy. And if you are on the older side, you're still not old, you're still young and fresh, but over 30 and you want a bunch of kids, then you probably should consider conceiving. That's where what I'm hearing from the fertility world, okay? Now, how to get your body ready. The biggest thing that I can tell you, my number one tip for you is diet and exercise. And I know I feel like that kind of feels like a broken record, but your health going into your pregnancy, your fitness does matter. That you will have an easier pregnancy. You will have less complications if you are exercising and eating right and you're in a healthy place prior to your pregnancy. Now, if you are not, then don't stress about it, right? That this is baby steps in the right direction. Or you get pregnant, you're like, oh, I wish I would have lost that 30 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever. We're gonna celebrate that pregnancy. We're gonna be really grateful for it, and we're gonna do our best through it. And the best would be that you stay active. I told my sister, 1 mile a day minimum, right? And they have it clocked out, and she's been doing that. But the more better shape that you're in and the healthier you are with the calories you put in your body, you are what you eat. Pregnancy, labor, and birth is the biggest athletic event of your life. You burn like thousands and thousands of calories. It is a huge stress on your body. You increase your blood volume. The work of your heart is more in pregnancy and especially through birth, and you want your body to be ready for it. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be running marathons. That just means you need to be getting your heart rate up at least 3 times a week, eating healthy calories, avoiding the fast foods, the processed foods, stuff like that, okay? So that's my number one tip for you. That's my little soapbox for you, and that's the pre-pregnancy question that I have for today, okay? Now, let's go back to pregnancy. All right, so RNM07 says, how to prepare to deliver a big baby. I'm going to send you to I'm having a big baby video that is dedicated. I know I'm like sitting and there's curtains back behind me. I need to know the names of my own videos. I have a whole video on big babies. Please go watch that for number 1. How to prepare is exactly like everything else, right? You need to be upright. You need to be moving. You need to be active. You need to even my sister's the perfect example. When I see her get up, she's kind of like, oh, hold on. And then her body takes a while to get moving and fluid again. And so we want to keep you fluid. All that stiffness, they actually say that after 15 minutes, your fascia starts to crystallize and firm up. That's why when we get out of bed in the morning, we're like, oh, hold on, I gotta loosen my body up, okay? Which is fine, but that's where kind of that 15 to 30 minute mark that you're changing positions, you're getting up, you're stretching, you're sitting on your ball, you're not just being sedentary, which is very hard during this pandemic, during your pregnancy, okay? So motion is lotion. I'm gonna keep saying that forever. Delivering a big baby, please don't stress about it. Watch my video on big babies because to me, you don't know if your baby can fit until you try. And then you're staying super fluid and moving a lot in labor. Every 30 to 45 minutes, you're changing positions throughout labor, and then you're not stressing about it, okay? Everybody is told they have a big baby. Everybody is worried. Everybody hears, I say everybody loosely, but it is extremely common for people to hear that they're having a big baby and doctors being worried about it fitting. You don't know until you try. All right. Master Sarah J says, does having a long cervix, 6 centimeters, cause a long labor? Okay, so in your pregnancy, they may do a transvaginal ultrasound and measure the length of your cervix, okay? So let's say, and this is about 6 centimeters actually. That's probably about accurate, okay? So 6 centimeters when you are not in labor makes no difference for your labor, all right? If they were to do it at 37 weeks, there is a recent study that just came out. It's not like, a meta-analysis or whatever, but it was a very, I would say, not even semi, it's like a reliable study. There was, I think, 1,600 participants, and they looked at the thickness of the cervix at 37 weeks, which, by the way, they do not routinely do. Your doctor, unless you were to ask them or something, they wouldn't look at the thickness. But they did find that the thicker your cervix was at 37 weeks, the higher the chance of going later in pregnancy, which logically, guys, makes sense because the thicker you are, you need to get to 100%. So if you're starting out at 37 weeks pretty thin, you're more likely to go into labor. I know Emily Oster of Crib Sheet and Expecting Better, which are two amazing book recommendations. They're in my book recommendations list, which I will link down below from Amazon. She looked at the studies and said, like, if you're checked at 38, I think it's 38 weeks, and your cervix is totally closed, thick, and hard, your chance of making it to your due date is like almost 100%. So that's where, whether or not people are checking you, they'd have to perform a vaginal exam. 6 centimeter cervix doesn't really make a difference. Please don't stress about it. You could go into labor in an hour. We're being really flexy and flowy on that one. Lip and tongue ties for breastfeeding. I think Shannon Ngar, I've answered your questions before. I see you very active and I appreciate it. So lip and tongue ties for breastfeeding. I've talked about tongue ties before, but lip ties would be this frenulum. So see that little like guy here, and then I can't get my tongue on it. Very weird. That little like thing, like a piece of tissue under your tongue or under your lip, and it could be on the top as well. That may be connected more towards the front of the lip or the tongue to help keep the tongue or the lips backwards. For successful breastfeeding, the most successful breastfeeding, ideally you want lips like this on the breast, and then you want tongue cupping around the nipple, okay, for the baby. And so if somebody tells you that your baby has a lip or a tongue tie, get a second opinion, because I think this is talked about a lot. I do believe that I think it's probably getting overdiagnosed and is just a lot of times just lazy breastfeeding support, just to be totally candid. But does it exist? Yes. And can it hugely make a difference for your breastfeeding? If you are having milk supply issues, if you are having latch issues or nipple pain, or the baby's just like really fussy, like they can't get latch, you're not seeing like the flared lips, which I will eventually do a video on the proper latch that's coming, especially if my sister lets me do it with her. And so you want lips totally like ducked out, then you may have a lip or a tongue tie, and it's worth asking your pediatrician and saying, look, I'm having these issues. Can you look? And then really all that happens is they snip the under part. It's not a very vascular thing. They don't even usually throw stitches on it, but it immediately can fix the latch. Also, our mouths are really fast healing, and so is your baby. So it's a very simple procedure that may make a huge difference for you if you're having issues. So ask your pediatrician if you're having any of those issues. Great question. Hope and Joy Mama says, I had a horrible oversupply with my twins. Should I expect that with my singleton due 7-8? So oversupply, I know we've talked about, I do have a how to increase your milk supply, but some women struggle with too much milk. And so my quick answer to this is that think about how much stimulation. She had twins with her first. So you were at risk for oversupply because you had twins, because your twins were demanding double as much milk as your singleton or your one baby will demand. And so knowing that, feed on demand, don't pump, for those of you that have an oversupply, that like you want less stimulation. You want to teach the breast and your body how much milk you actually need. And understand that it takes time for your body to regulate and figure out how much that takes, which is about a month. And so you're feeding when the baby eats, and if they're growing and building weight, adding weight to themselves, or gaining weight, and they're peeing and pooping, you know they're getting enough. That's also a video. Oh my gosh, Squeeze, you have to see this dog. Come here, lover. Come here. Say hi to everyone. I don't have a dog, but this dog is the cutest thing I've ever seen, and I'm completely obsessed, and I'm gonna have to take him home with me. So he's the new love of my life. Thank you. That's your debut on YouTube. So risking oversupply, don't over pump, don't stimulate quite as much, just stimulate enough to feed your baby, and then get lactation help, guys. I've said them before, but Goldilocks are my favorite breastfeeding people. I know them personally. They are amazing. They're so non-judgmental, and they do virtual for you guys anywhere. And so reach out, get your lactation team together prior to your birth so that you can kind of nip the issues in the bud rather than in the bud. I don't know. I have a fuzz on from Squeeze, the dog. So have your team ready and nip the issues prior to them actually becoming something that like you need medical help with. Okay, are there any reasons or is it common for your water to break before the mucus plug comes? This is from Britt Hutch. So 3 things. You have contractions, water breaks, mucus plug. Mucus plug totally separate from anything else. Whether you lose your mucus plug or not, we don't really care. Yay, woohoo, yay mucus plug. Doesn't mean you're in labor, may mean that labor starts soon, doesn't really matter. You may see it, you may not, it doesn't matter, it doesn't make you any different, any worse than any other person, totally separate. Contractions or your water breaking, and I'm hearing this question being, why does your water break before contractions or if you haven't had any other signs, right? That happens in about 10% of mamas. And we don't know the answer. So I don't actually have an answer for you other than that we don't know why. It may be a movement of the baby. It may be the expansion of the uterus, maybe a lot of water, that it's almost like a water balloon, that if your water balloon is super duper like big and full and you barely touch it, it pops, versus the ones that maybe aren't so full and you're touching it and baby's like, and nothing happens. Okay, so we don't know why, and we're just gonna flex and flow with it. Because I don't necessarily have an answer for that. All right. Wednesday with Julie says, how do we know if our C-section incision is horizontal or vertical? So this way or this way. I want to try for a VBAC, and it does need to be horizontal if you want a VBAC. So the other person asked me, there was another one, this is Mountain Peak, says, is taking your VBAC course before a second pregnancy a thing? So I do have a VBAC course. I'm very happy about this VBAC course. I feel like it is super helpful for those of you who are thinking about getting pregnant. So my answer would be yes, because it will especially help you navigate that decision of which route you want to go and then what to expect for your VBAC. So how to know whether or not your incision is horizontal or vertical? Couple of things. One is ask your doctor. That will be the biggest thing, and call them, ask for your records, ask what your incision is. The incision that matters is the one on your uterus. So the outside of you may be horizontal, but inside is vertical. Now I will say, if you have had a C-section in the last like 10-ish years, and in the United States, it is super duper common that it will be horizontal, okay? And it would be very unusual for them to do a vertical incision on your uterus, unless maybe you had a preterm baby or some sort of wild complication in your first pregnancy, okay? Somewhat safe to assume that your incision is horizontal. If your incision is vertical, you do not rule in for a VBAC. Your incision needs to be horizontal, okay? So ask them is my best recommendation. Just call your doctor's office and say, hey, can you look at my records? Where's my incision, okay? All right, Fala Khan says, until how long can we wait for contractions after week 40? So my answer to this is you can wait as long as you personally want. The decision to induce is always your decision. The decision for a C-section is always your decision, okay? Now, safely, the number is 42 weeks. So medically, the nurse in me is going to recommend at 42 weeks, you're going to be induced, okay? There's no longer benefit for your baby staying inside. In fact, your risk of the baby staying inside outweighs the benefit, would be the medical decision. Now, usually people are going to talk to you at 41 weeks. That's more the trend, that at 41 weeks, if you haven't had your baby, go ahead and have your baby. That's going to be up to you to navigate with your doctor. Some doctors and midwives will actually let you go later than 42 weeks. I've seen almost, I think it was 43 and 6. So almost 44-week gestation in my career. I was very nervous about it, not gonna lie. As a nurse, I was very concerned, but everything was fine. So flex and flow, not recommended past 42 weeks, okay? I see Yvonne say, is it okay to get induced at 39 weeks? I actually have a video specifically about 39-week induction. And the answer is you can be electively induced. It would be an elective induction at 39 weeks if you would like. You can talk to your doctor about that. There are definitely like risk benefit to consider, but yes, in the United States, that is a thing, okay? Okay, 2020 Sapling says, what should I have in my baby's first aid kit and medicine cabinet? Hi from Israel, that is so cool, I love it. Okay, so 2020 sapling. First and foremost, I would say that you should take my infant safety and CPR class, which I have online that's available to you because I literally tell you all the things that you need. And number 2 would be you would want for medicines to have on hand baby Motrin, baby Tylenol, gas drops would be foundational. There's like gripe water and a whole other slew of things you can have. Those would be my top 3. Now, I do have an Amazon list specifically from my infant safety and CPR that is public. So I will link my Amazon list down below. You can look in there. I actually have like this shirt I got on Amazon, and I know that's on my Styled by Amazon list, and I've been like curating these lists for a very long time. So check those out. There's book recommendations, things for your pregnancy, etc. But there is a specific infant safety and CPR class with all those recommendations as well. Top 3 would be gas drops or gripe water, Motrin, and Tylenol. Baby Motrin, baby Tylenol for your medicine cabinet. And then take my infant safety and CPR because I literally talk you through all those things, how to do it, how to give medications, etc. for keeping your baby safe. All right, this is a good one. I have 2 that are specifically related right now. This summer heat is miserable. Any tips for being pregnant in the summertime and it being particularly hot? That's from M. Brooks Cruz. And then E. Baris says, sore feet tips. They hurt so bad, I limp in the morning and exercise has gone down due to it. Okay, so to me, this kind of has to do with heat and then just being uncomfortable in your pregnancy. Okay, guys, instinct is everything. So if you are feeling sore, slow down. Maybe you're overdoing it, all right? You can always ice your feet. You can put heat on your feet. You can get foot massages from your partner. I would be concerned for you, Baris, I think that is it, about maybe like foot spurs or that there's something else going on. So bring it up to your provider. And then with summer heat, honestly, pools are going to be a huge recommendation. Taking multiple showers, cool baths, using your air conditioning, going on walks in the early morning or the evening, walking around naked. And then a mini handheld fan. Honestly, I have one of these for my house because my house, like, I'm very picky about running my air and I'll like wait till it's like 80 degrees in my house. But I have a little handheld fan. It was $12.99 on Amazon. It is in my What's in My Labor Bag list on Amazon. And it was like the best investment. So like a little mini handheld fan, cold drinks, cool washcloth on your head. Those kind of things are going to be my recommendations for you. I don't know if I have anything else, but I feel like that will hopefully help you. I hope. Mrs. Cynthia Cano says, doctor recommended to my doctor recommended to continuously socially distance. I'm going crazy and the baby isn't here until August. Any ideas to keep me sane? So this is specific to pandemic. And Tiffany asked about my Amazon list. I see that come up right now. So my Amazon list, I will put in the description box down below once I edit these after we're done. If you go to Amazon, the link is amazon.com/shop/Sarah Lavonne. So that's how you find it. And then I'll link it down below. It's also on my website. I know it's on my Instagram links, stuff like that. So that's how you find that. Now, socially distancing right now for you guys. I know with the pandemic, things have kind of calmed down. They have slowed down a little bit. You're starting to maybe feel like, okay, I'm not quite so stressed about it. Things are starting to open up, etc. So my recommendation for you guys is don't be dumb, okay? Don't go out and go shopping without a mask on and then go rub your nose and lick your fingers, all right? Be washing your hands, and I have a whole hand washing video on that, you know? And then if you want, like, socially distance is 6 feet apart. So outside spaces are really, and actually this may turn into an Instagram post, it'd be a really good one, but how to what are the risks of socially distancing? And so of course being home is the best thing, but next step for our own sanity, like, meet up with a friend in the park and stay in outdoor spaces where there's great airflow, and then stay farther apart. I've actually been doing that with my, like, quote unquote aunt. She's not blood, but like she's like an aunt to me. And we've been doing happy hours in the park with our water bottles every week. And it's been super refreshing for you guys. And so we have to balance your own mental health. If you haven't been out at all, Go on a walk this week. I told this to a client who has been in her house since like March. It is time to get out of your house. If you aren't interacting with people, if you aren't touching them, if you're not touching things that you don't know where the germs have been and then touching your face, guys, you're probably not gonna get sick. So this is where go on the walks, meet up with a friend, and socially distance outside. I feel like that is a safe alternative, and your mental health matters. There's nothing worth your mental health, okay? So that is my recommendation for staying sane. Okay, the other thing, now I have maybe a couple other questions, but I don't want to be on here forever. I appreciate you guys who have been here for all of this time. The other thing I did want to address is all the stuff happening with George Floyd and the racism issues in the United States. I felt like I couldn't responsibly get on this call today and not bring it up and pretend like it isn't happening. So what I want to say is that I want to be the first to acknowledge, and actually I did acknowledge this in a Coffee and Questions, that racism in our country is a problem. I am so thrilled at all of the social media, including myself, which, by the way, I do try to keep Bundle Birth more birthy, but I am preparing a response on the Bundle Birth Instagram. On my personal Instagram, I have been posting things on stories and awareness and things we can be doing. I'll be doing more of that over, and you can find me at Sarah Lavonne if you want more. That's my personal stuff, so I try to keep that like related to me. But first of all, I want to acknowledge that racism is a problem. And for all of you white people out there that maybe think, oh, this doesn't apply to me, or oh, maybe I don't think this is an issue, or well, justice for all humans. I want to remind you, and I would love to prompt you to take a second, myself included, whether you agree or not, and say, yes, racism is an issue. We need to identify in ourselves. For me, it starts internally, that we need to be asking ourselves, what's going on in me? Where are my biases? What do I believe about my privilege versus other people's privilege? And then you start in yourself, identify your own bias, your own discrimination, and be honest about that, guys. We all have bias. We all have our own opinions about other people or stereotypes that we have been taught and that we live out in our lives. Start there, then go to your home. That's where it's like, yes, you have your close people around you that you feel safe. Force these conversations. Talk about the racism stuff happening in our world right now. Process it together. Watch the documentaries. Listen to the podcasts. Listen to people of color, whether black or brown, and hear their experiences with an open mind and open ears about what is happening and what they have experienced in their life. And again, I am posting this stuff on my personal Instagram to get you started, but learn about the race stuff that has been happening and currently still is a problem in our country. And then get involved in your community. It's like, it starts with you individually, then it needs to come to our home and our close circles, and then into the community. And community-wise, specifically for birth, we know that the studies are extremely clear that Black women get worse care in pregnancy. If you are a nurse in pregnancy and birth, and in the hospital, I'll just say like Black people in the hospital receive worse care. And so that is clear by all of the studies. 1 in 4 women, or four times, let me try that again. Okay, Black women are 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than other races or white women, okay? And so we need to recognize this is 1, not okay. Number 2, if you are a nurse in the hospital, you have the potential for making a difference. It's almost like, to me, if you have a Black patient, we need to be going out of our way to make sure that there isn't any lesser care that they're receiving from their provider, from other nurses, from other specialties, that they are getting equal care, that they are feeling extra comfortable. Our Black brothers and sisters have felt like they are not safe. That is all I'm hearing. It's like we live in this state of heightened lack of safety, especially when you start talking about the police stuff going on. And mind you, I am white. I don't claim to be an expert in this, but I do listen, I do read, I do care, and I do, I am fed up with this being an issue. And so if you are a nurse, we need to go out of our way for our Black mamas when they're in labor to make sure that they are comfortable, make sure that they are listened to, make sure that they are not being talked about behind their back, or stereotypes are not being perpetuated throughout their care. All right, so I can speak to that for birth. And for all of you Black mamas out there, I am sorry that this is a thing. I mean Black people and brown people, mostly Black mamas because this is a birth channel. But I am sorry that this is a thing. I'm sorry that you have to deal with this. I'm sorry about the fear that exists when you give birth or when you go into the hospital. And I am committed to doing what I can to help. So if you guys have suggestions, if you have resources, if you have classes that you're taking, I just signed up for a webinar that was all about like transgenerational trauma and racism in our country related to birth that I'm taking in June sometime. So, you know, it's like we need to educate ourselves, yes, but then it goes to supporting company. If you can't be and volunteer for Black Mamas Matter or Black Lives Matter or all of these other amazing organizations out there, then you need to be donating to them. You need to be spreading the word, and like enough is enough. So whether or not you agree with me, I honestly kind of don't care. I bless all of us in our journey, and there is no judgment here. That to me, it's like you can either have been reading and be very passionate about this, or it's like, I don't know that this is an issue, or I don't know that like how I feel about it, and I'm like uncomfortable with all of it, and I don't know, I have my like whatever your thoughts are about it. Start there, okay? And that's where like I want us all to have the freedom, and especially in the bundle birth space, the freedom to have these conversations and to be honest about our experiences. If you have an experience related to you being a person of color for your birth or discrimination or whatever, I want to listen to that. I want to hear your stories. Ask your friends about their experiences and ask them being fully ready to listen, to understand, which that ultimately, when you can ingest other people's life, like their life realities, turn that into empathy, recognizing that there's a problem, and that motivating you to action in whatever you're called to. Ask the question, what am I called to do in this time to respond to, I'm getting emotional, wow, to this issue that is just pervasive, and like enough is enough. Martin Luther King Jr. died way too long ago that this is still the same in a lot of ways. So that's my spiel. Totally organic. Please tell me your stories. Please reach out with your resources. Please post them in the comment box down below. Let's share and grow together, and let this be a space where our Black mamas and mamas and papas, I guess, can share openly about what they've experienced, and they can receive the empathy and compassion and support and advocacy that they need through their pregnancy, their labor, their birth, their parenting. That's what I got. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for asking your questions. Thank you for engaging and being with me on this journey of YouTube that was never going to be a thing, but is a thing. And thank you for being my community, and for all of your comments, and for your lives, and for your birth stories, and your shares, and your likes, and all the things. Okay, guys, I so appreciate you. If you want more from me, Instagram, bundlebirth.com, my Amazon list, I will link everything down below. So make sure you subscribe so you can come back for future videos, etc. If you have ideas for future videos, questions for a future coffee and questions, throw that in the comment box down below. And then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Love you guys.